but also might be able to address concerns that we have just in general about employees working here at State Fair Community College and enjoying this place as a great place to work. So one of the things that the HR Advisory Committee is looking at is assessing and getting employee feedback on what they value as far as a compensation package. And so that survey was going to go out. So along with that, we said, well, we don't want to survey our employees twice. If you're doing a compensation survey, let's also add some common elements that you can respond to about satisfaction in the workplace. And then we'll be able to compare those to the employee satisfaction survey that we've given in some past years. So I kind of set the stage for you, Christy, and I know you're going to share about what you want our employees to hear about that survey, when it might be going out, and what the HR committee is going to be doing with that.
Yes, well, you did a very good job. So, just like you said, we combine those two surveys because we want you to know that we acknowledge that we don't want you to be surveyed several times a year, but we needed something to gauge your satisfaction with. And so that's why we are tying some of those questions so that we can see that correspondence. But as for the benefits, we really have never gauged what our benefits are and how our employees felt about them. And so this is the perfect opportunity with the formation of the HR Advisory Committee to check out those things and even expand or explore other options that employees may be thinking about.
Very good. So can you just kind of tell us some of the things that are going to be on the survey and when that survey is going out? And you were chosen as the spokesperson for the HR committee. So I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot for that.
Yeah, that's okay. So I didn't have the survey pulled up, but I remember she presented it to us. So like I said, you'll recognize some of those employee satisfaction survey questions. But some of the questions have to do with the COVID pandemic, how you like to remotely work, your communication with your supervisor while you have been, if you have been, working away from home or away from campus at home during this time. Because HR notices and recognizes that times have changed, and maybe looking at how employees are working and what's best serving our students, we may be able to put in permanently some of the changes that we've had during the pandemic.
Absolutely. So I believe that survey will be going out in the next few days.
Yes, so we have a release date right now of April 6th. And so until then, you should be hearing some communication from your constituent in this group between now and the 6th. We kind of broke it down into areas, and so everyone should by now know who their representative is, but please reach out to them after you receive the communication if you have questions or you'd like to provide any other feedback.
Okay. Some people may have a question about, well, how is this HR advisory committee? How do they interplay with the college council, and how does that interact with the executive leadership team? So let me just describe that a little bit. The HR advisory committee is really that. They serve in an advisory capacity to human resources. And but they also are working cooperatively with the college council. There are representatives from college council on the HR advisory committee. And if we set up a subcommittee from college council, there's somebody from the HR advisory committee. So there is communication across those two because the HR advisory committee was really focused on thinking that this might be a year that we would need to change benefits or rebid benefits, which we're not having to do. We still want to get feedback. And so that this mechanism is the best way to do that. In other years, they will continue to put proposals forward of, what are employees valuing? How can we make this a better workplace? And so I appreciate what the goal is of that committee. It is representative of the college, so there are individuals from throughout the institution, including remote campus, as Christy represents some of that. So I just think that that is an avenue, as well as the College Council, and then ultimately recommendations and that data will flow up and to the president here, and for recommendations of if there needs to be changes in policy or practice or options and benefits that we offer employees. And then there would be, like, if it's a change in policy, those would go through the normal policy change route. Obviously, College Council would weigh in, ELT would weigh in, and we send those out for general campus feedback before they are taken to the board if it's a policy for change, or if we implement the regulation change, which ELT has authority to approve. So that's kind of how that all fits together. And the purpose here now is to get a sense of, like Christy said, you know, we know that individuals have worked remotely during this pandemic, and how has that been positive, or how has it been challenging? What have we learned from that that we can implement maybe in a more flexible kind of a work environment than we had ever perceived that we could do in the past? Am I kind of covering the bases there?
I think you did very well. You know, I think communication is both the number one priority of both College Council and the HR advisory. So, you know, anytime those things can cross, that's one more person that's going to be sharing that information across the campus. So I really think it's a great thing for the campus. I will say that we didn't say that we would be collecting the data from this survey, and we are using SurveyMonkey until April 15th. And this is, I too am going to be submitting my own survey. And so while we were building this survey, we're able to see that we're not checking the URL box. So we're not tracking any results. We want it to be 100% anonymous so that we can really get that good feedback that we're wanting.
Absolutely. You know, one of the challenges in our employee satisfaction surveys is that it raises more questions. And so this was an attempt to dig a little deeper and to find out some specific preferences for some things. So I hope employees will give that feedback. It is anonymous, and we will use that feedback to make improvements and changes as we can and as they would be appropriate. Finally then, Christy, thank you, and stay on here for a minute. I want to tell all of our employees that I had previously said that you were going to be eligible for the vaccine when K-12 was eligible, and you know, they bumped us down a different category. But I know the date now is set that on April 9th, that higher education's group is going to be eligible to get the vaccine. And I just want to encourage all of our employees to really do the research, understand, be thoughtful. But I just have to tell you, our goal as a community here and as a country is to get to a herd immunity level where, you know, we can come back and have in-person meetings without having to wear face coverings. You know, that's the goal, and that we can have classes back on ground at a full capacity. We can have students interacting, having fun together, which is what college is supposed to be partly about, and having those truly engaging learning opportunities in person as much as possible. So I encourage all of you to get signed up to get the vaccine. If you haven't already, some of us have already had 2 shots and we're well past the 2 weeks. So we feel fairly safe of not, you know, getting an infection that would put us in the hospital and cause worse to happen. So thank you for joining us today for Brown Bag. Christy, thank you for being a representative in both College Council and on the HR Advisory Committee. And if you have any questions about that, you are welcome to direct them to me or Rachel Dawson, who is our Executive Director of Human Resources, and go get signed up, get the vaccine. I think it felt like Christmas to me. Hopefully it will you too. Thank you. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Okay.